I welcome you all to today's session of English, and today we are going to discuss the poem Keeping Quiet by Pablo Neruda. Now, as usual, we are going to have a brief introduction of the poet Pablo Neruda, right? Pablo Neruda was born in 1904 in Parral, Chile, South America. His father was a railway employee and his mother was a teacher. He studied in the university. He won Nobel Prize for Literature in 1971. Now, a brief introduction of the poem. In this poem, Neruda talks about the necessity of quiet introspection and creating a feeling of mutual understanding among human beings. Now, we talked of a word, right? Introspection. What do we understand by introspection? What does this word means? We very often say introspection or you should introspect. So, what does this mean? Actually, the word introspection means examining or analyzing or observing one's own mental and emotional processes. Look into oneself, right? Introspection is looking into oneself, analyzing one's own self, one's own actions and thoughts, right? So that is introspection. So what the poet here is asking the readers in this particular poem is he's asking us to introspect, right? Pablo Neruda here discusses the need of maintaining peace and silence. He stresses upon being quiet and harmless to the human beings, animals, and environment. He suggests that in order to maintain peace and harmony, it is required to stop and introspect ourselves. Now, pay attention to the last sentence here. In order to maintain peace and harmony, it is required to stop and introspect ourselves. That means peace and harmony can only be achieved when we introspect ourselves. Now, see, there's a very common tendency among humans that we point mistakes, we look at faults of others, right? We don't realize our own mistake, but we pay attention to the faults, the mistakes, the wrongdoings of others. And we keep on thinking about that, we keep on criticizing that all the time. But what the poet actually here is saying that before saying anything to others, before pointing a finger at others, we should first introspect. We should first look at our own thoughts and actions, right? And if the writer says that if we are able to do it, if we can actually analyze ourselves, we can easily establish peace and harmony. So with this, let us now begin reading the poem. It's not a very big poem, a straight poem with a very beautiful message, right? Okay, so now pay attention as we read this poem. Now we will count to 12 and we will all keep still. For once on the face of the earth, let's not speak in any language. Let's not stop for 1 second and not move our arms so much. Now, very first line, the poet is asking us, he's asking the readers to count to 12 and stay still for that time. He's asking us to stay still, to stand still, to keep still till we count 12. Now, this figure, this word 12 is very important here, right? He chose this 12 maybe for various reasons. There are various explanations to this, interpretations of this use of the word 12. Now, 12 is an important number as it refers to time. Actually, it's about time. it refers to 12 months in a year, right? It refers to the 12 hours of a day, 12 hours that basically decide the course of our life, that rule our lives, right? Then if we talk of zodiac signs, they are also 12. And those who believe in astrology, they must be knowing that zodiac signs are believed to be controlling forces of our lives. They are believed to have a very deep impact on our lives, right? So this word 12 actually is of a great importance here. And 12, not only this, 12 in numerology is considered the digit of peace and prosperity, right? So the poet is asking us to focus on the digit 12, and he says that as we do this, we should stay still, right? We should stay still. We should not be engaged in any activity. We should just stay still, quiet and peaceful. For once on the face of the earth, let's not speak in any language. Now, any language. So here, different languages that are practiced around the globe, they have been highlighted. What the poet means to convey here is that people in different parts of the world, people in different regions of the world, they speak different languages, right? Now, although language is the identity of a country or a race, but it at times also acts as barriers when it comes to discrimination, right? So what the poet is doing here is he urges everyone to break the barriers of language and get united with one invisible tune, right? Now that invisible tune is the silence. So he says that we should break the barriers of language. We should not speak in any language. That means we should remain silent. And for once on the face of the earth. Now earth here refers to all the human beings who are living on this earth, irrespective of their backgrounds, the countries they live in, or the race they belong to, right? So he's saying that all of us should come together, should stop talking. Why should we stop talking? Why should we stay silent? Because languages create barriers and we have to break these barriers. And according to the poet, only silence can do that. Only silence can bring us together. Let's stop for 1 second and not move our arms so much. Now, he's asking all of us to stop for 1 second, means stop doing everything, to stop being engaged in any activity and not move our arms so much. Now see, moving our arms here means being busy, right? We are always on move, busy in accomplishing our work and go on rushing in our lives. So that is what he is asking us, that we should stop for some time. We should stop being busy. We should, unless we don't stop, we won't be able to focus. We won't be able to introspect. It would be an exotic moment, without rush, without engines. We would all be together in a sudden strangeness. Now the poet says that it would be an exotic movement. Now exotic means, yes, exotic means special, something which is remote, something which we are not used to, right? Unfamiliar, we can call it. So that would be an exotic moment. How would it be an exotic moment? It would be unusual, because otherwise we remain busy all the time. So if we stop for some time, that moment we are still, we are staying still, we are quiet, that would be an exotic moment. Without rush, without engines, we would all be together in a sudden strangeness. without rush, without engines. Now here the poet urges to stop engines. Engines here refer to industrial works, right? The motors. By using them, we are causing harm to environment. So he wants us to stop causing damage to environment by stopping engines or machines, we can say. The poet also requests to stop our personal activities, right? And unite together, come together. We would all be together, he says. We would all be together in a sudden strangeness. Now, the poet, what he means to say is, if we stay still for a while, if we keep quiet, if we stop everything, stop being busy, stop doing anything we had been busy in, right? Stop all the machines, all the industrial work, everything. There would be a silence which would be exotic. It would be special, because this silence, although it's strange, the silence is strange, but that strangeness will bring equilibrium, right? It would bring peace on the earth. Fishermen in the cold sea would not harm whales, and the man gathering salt would not look at his hurt hands. Now, the poet says that if we decide to stay still, right, we shall be able to introspect. We shall be able to understand the mistakes and the wrongs we had been engaged in. So, see, he is using the term fisherman and salt gatherer. Fisherman and man gathering salt. They are using as representatives, right? Fisherman is the representative of that category of people who act like tyrants, who are killers, who don't hesitate in harming others. So, what he says, fishermen in the cold sea would not harm whales. That means if we introspect, it would put an end to tyranny. People would realize that they would have been posing trouble, posing danger to others. And once they realize, they would stop doing that. Then the man gathering salt would look at his hurt hands. Now, man gathering salt, he is shown as the representative of poor and lower section of the society, right? These people who are poor, who are oppressed, right, who hail from the lower section of the society, they actually go up to any level to earn their livelihood. They adapt to anything in order to earn a living. And in this attempt to earn a livelihood, they often hurt themselves. They often hurt themselves irreparably, right? The harm caused, the damage caused to them at times becomes irreparable, right? So actually he's saying is that if all stay still, if we all introspect, there would be an equilibrium, as I used the word earlier, right? Tyrants would realize their mistake. They would stop unnecessary torture, right? They would stop killing people. They would stop harassing people. And if the same happens with the salt gatherer or the man who gathers salt, who is the representative of poor section of the society, if they also introspect, they would stop being engaged. They would stop getting involved in activities that actually hurt them or their loved ones. Those who prepare green wars, wars with gas, wars with fire, victory with no survivors, would put on clean clothes and walk about with their brothers in the shade doing nothing. Now, two categories of people we have already talked about. The first is tyrants, people who oppress others. The second category was people who are downtrodden, who are from the poor section, oppressed section of the society. And now here the poet talks about the third category of the people. He's talking about the people with green wars. Green wars means people who are engaged in actual wars with biological weapon, or there may be another category of people who are people with green wars, and they are the people who are contributing to increase of pollution, right? Who are the creators of pollution. Is it clear? So the third category of people that the poet talks about is the people with green wars, people who are engaged in wars, who think about wars, wars with biological weapons, or maybe atomic wars, which the poet calls as war with fire. And people who pollute, who harm the environment by causing pollution. He says, those who prepare green wars, wars with gas, wars with fire, victory with no survivor. They become victorious in their attempts most of the times. But what is the consequence of that victory? The victory is, they consider it to be a victory, but actually it's not a victory, because the victory is at the cost of their loved ones, right? At the cost of the people whom they respect, whom they love, whom they care for, right? So that is how victory with no survivors means. The victory, they have achieved victory, but the people are not left. There are no survivors left to enjoy, to celebrate that victory. Actually, here the poet is mocking at the victory of these people who get victory over destruction. Means to achieve that victory or to be victorious, they lead to a lot of destruction. So this is what the poet is mocking at. He's making fun of, right? Yes, the poet here is asking them, these people, the people with green wars, right, to leave the path of destruction and join the group of silence. He wants them to leave the path of destruction and join others in silence, in keeping quiet, in being silent, right? He urges them, he requests them to put on clean clothes and walk about with their brothers in the shade, doing nothing. So he is asking them to put on clean clothes, means to have pure and serene thoughts, right? To cleanse their thoughts, to have pure thoughts. And walk with others doing nothing means they should walk with others, means they should get united with other people without anything negative, without doing anything negative, without being involved in any activity that is negative. And all this is possible only by self-introspection. So, the third category of people we just talked about was people who are engaged in green wars. Okay, let's continue with the poem now. What I want should not be confused with total inactivity. Life is what it is about. I want no truck with death. Now here, the poet is making his point clear, right? He is trying to clarify what he means by total inactivity, what he means by silence. He tells the readers that his message of silence should not be confused with total inactivity. Total inactivity here refers to death. So he tells us that silence, he doesn't mean to associate silence with death. he makes it very clear that his message does not have any relation with death, right? Death has no place in this silence or total inactivity. He's talking about stopping being involved in negative activities, in warfare, in harassment, right? Not in death. His message is actually aimed at a particular way of living. He is telling us about a particular way of living. He only wants us to stop for a while, to introspect. And while we introspect, while we stop for a while, he wants us to feel the peace, to feel the calmness, to feel the relaxed state of mind, so that a positive outcome may be achieved. See, let me throw more light on these particular lines, because this total inactivity and truck with death, this becomes tricky at times. I think total inactivity is clear to you. So he's talking about death. He simply says that he just want to interrupt, he just want to stop the sad and cruel activities. He want people to stop being involved in such activities for some time, right? So that they can introspect. And he also says that by keeping quiet for some time, we would be able to realize about ourselves, right? And once this realization is achieved, there would altogether be a different feeling, right? There would be like human beings reborn, a total change in scenario. So truck with death and total activity, they clearly suggest, they actually hint at death, but the poet is saying that he doesn't associate silence or keeping quiet or staying still with death. If we were not so single-minded about keeping our lives moving and for once could do nothing, perhaps a huge silence might interrupt this sadness of never understanding ourselves and of threatening ourselves with death. Yes. So, single-minded, the poet is pointing at one very important thing, one attribute of human beings. He says that we human beings are single-minded. Single-minded in the sense that we are focused on a single thing. We are busy in achieving our goals, right? Completing personal responsibilities or whatever task we have undertaken. And while doing all these things, while being engaged in all this, we never stop a while. We never evaluate ourselves. We never try to understand whether what we are doing is right or not. What is the consequence of whatever we are doing presently? Right? We never understand ourselves. We never understand that we shall never be able to come out of this circle of desire. It's a vicious circle actually. The circle of desires and achievements. Once one desire is achieved, the next is in row. So this cycle goes on, right? So he says, and for once could do nothing. Perhaps a huge silence might interrupt this sadness of never understanding ourselves and of threatening ourselves with death. Yes. So, what the poet is urging, what he is trying to say is, if we could stop a while from doing these things we are busy in, we would be able to understand the real purpose of our life. Look at this line. Perhaps a huge silence. Huge silence again means stopping doing anything. Stay silent, stay quiet, right? Introspect. So this introspection we get involved into, it might interrupt the sadness of never understanding ourselves. We will be able to overcome the sadness, the sorrow, that we are not able to understand, because introspection is the tool that allows us to understand ourselves and our actions, right? The real purpose of our lives and what we have to do. So, introspection is a must. Perhaps the earth can teach us as when everything seems dead. Sorry. So, see, this slide actually is reinforcing the thing that we discussed just now. Stillness does not mean total inactivity. Stillness and silence helps a man in creating mutual understanding among human beings. And how is that mutual understanding achieved? By introspecting, by realizing whether what we are doing is helping somebody or not. Perhaps the earth can teach us as when everything seems dead and later proves to be alive. Now I'll count up to 12 and you keep quiet and I will go. So these are the closing lines of this poem. The poet says, perhaps the earth can teach us. What he's saying is actually he's talking about the fear, the sadness, the sorrow, right? The fear of death actually. So what he is saying is, we live with the fear of death, right? But this fear has to be overcome. And the earth. Now, what does earth here refer to? In the beginning, we talked about it. In the beginning, in the opening stanza, the word earth referred to all the human beings, the world, right? And here we are talking about the earth, the life on the earth, the environment. The earth can teach us when everything seems dead, later proves to be alive. So, when a time comes when everything appears to have gone dead. Actually, we are here talking about the extreme cold conditions which people face in a few countries around the globe, right? So, in such situation, the life seems to have come to an end. No signs of life is seen actually in the surroundings, right? Trees, the leaves have fallen off the trees dries up, no birds, no animals, even human beings are scarcely seen on the roads outside. So that is how the earth seems to be dead, right? Now the earth can teach us as when everything seems dead and later proves to be alive. But a time comes when this season gets over and the spring arrives. Everything appears to have reborn, right? Look at the picture on the slide. The first picture shows a withered tree with no leaves left on it. It is a sign of death. It's a sign of destruction. It's a sign of an end to life. But from the same ground, new saplings grow, they emerge, and the cycle of life goes on. There's no end to it. So, in the last few lines, the poet is bringing a hope to the readers. He's telling us to look at the nature and learn, right? To get over this fear of death. To realize that life is a circle, right? It keeps on moving. So we face if things appear to be dead, it comes back with life in another form, in another season. So nothing is dead. The cycle of life and death goes on. So in the last two lines, the poet is asking us, it is actually leaving the readers to introspect, right? He says, now I'll count up to 12 and you keep quiet and I will go. So he's asking us to introspect, and he's telling us, I will go means he's telling us that I have undergone, I have experienced this thing, and that is why he's trying to make us realize the importance of introspection. Now let's talk about the theme of the poem here. Theme, as you can read on the slide, is necessity of quiet introspection and creating a feeling of mutual understanding. Understanding, it should be. Sorry about this. Among human beings. So the theme is based on introspection and the need to create a feeling of mutual understanding among human beings. This is the theme. This is what the poet wants us to achieve. Now let's discuss a few questions. These are the questions from your textbook only. We are just going to recapitulate what we have read now. What will counting up to 12 and keeping still help us achieve? Yes. How will counting up to 12 and keeping still help us? It would provide us a momentary pause. It would allow us to introspect. It would allow us to review the actions, the activities we had been engaged in, right? And keeping quiet will give us an idea, a clue about what is to be done now, what we should do now, and thus it will ensure peace. Now the next question is, do you think the poet advocates total inactivity and death? This is, we have discussed it quite clearly, I guess. Do you think the poet advocates total inactivity and death? No, not at all. He doesn't advocate either of these. He makes it quite clear in the poem that total inactivity should not be confused with death, right? Total inactivity, he doesn't associate total inactivity with death. He's just asking us to stay still, quiet. And this stillness means halting off, stopping off, putting an end to harmful and hostile human activities. Next question. What is the sadness that the poet refers to in the poem? Now, poet is talking about the sadness which is formed out of one's own actions and thoughts, right? The poet has hinted in the poem that the man who knows so much, who understands so much, actually fails to understand himself and his action, right? He's not able to realize that his actions can be harmful and disastrous. He is not able to realize, because he doesn't introspect, he is not able to realize that he is responsible for the disaster. So he's always threatening himself with death because of his thought and actions. This sadness is what the poet has referred to, the fear of death that the man carries in his mind. Now, next question. What symbol from nature does the poet invoke to say that there can be life under apparent stillness? Life under apparent stillness. Apparent means visible. We discussed in the last few lines. Although things appear to be still, appear to be dead, but there are signs of life hidden beside them, behind them, under them, right? So he talks of the earth as a living symbol to prove his point. He proves that the earth never attains total inactivity. Nature remains at work, right? Although it might seem to be still, silent, dead, but it's not that. It is at work. It keeps earth alive. There's life after death, means after apparent death, actually. So he says when everything seems dead and later proves to be alive, means there is life hidden behind the apparent stillness. So that's all for today's class, dear students. I hope the poem is clear to you. For any queries, we can discuss this in the next session. So be prepared, go through the poem once. Yes, one thing I would like you people to do this time is you have to enlist the poetic devices employed in the poem with examples. I am repeating, enlist the poetic devices employed in the poem with examples. So we'll be discussing, that would be the first thing that we would be discussing in the next class. That's all for today's class. Thank you all.